So you've expanded and changed the Republican Party, and one of the amazing things that I have learned is that Republican voters really care about issues I didn't realize they cared about, like clean air, clean soil, clean food. You've won, somehow, the full-throated endorsement of Bobby Kennedy, lifelong Democrat, who's now like a full-time surrogate for you.
He's a very, very good man, too, by the way.
So what's that going to look like after you get elected?
Well, you know, I feel interesting about this kind of stuff. I like to, number one, get elected. I hate to talk to stuff. A lot of people, they set up, I know that even when I ran, Hillary had an office set up where they were interviewing all the, I don't want to do that. I want to get elected first, and then we'll cram a little bit. But, you know, I don't like doing it. No, I remember she set up this big office. They're interviewing people for jobs. And actually, you're supposed to do it. But I want to win. I want to win in 5 days from now. It's almost 4 days from now, right? In 5 days from now, when we have a victory, we're going to have the best people. Here's the one difference, one big difference between now and 2016. I know Washington and the people through testing, real testing, better than probably any human being that's ever hired people. So I went from not knowing anybody and having to rely on, in all fairness, Mike Pence and many other people. I had Mike Pence, and I had others, and they would recommend people. Sloppy Chris Christie recommended some people. And I wouldn't have used him had I known, but you rely on people. And by the way, you know, I hate talking about this because we had mostly great people. Think of it. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. We rebuilt the entire U.S. military. We defeated ISIS, and we had no wars. We cut more regulations than anybody in the history of the country times 5. And, you know, but we had the best economy in the history of our country. I took in billions and billions of dollars in taxes and tariffs from China. I mean, we had an unbelievably successful administration. We were energy independent. We didn't need anybody's energy. We had so much oil, we didn't know what to do with it. And now take a look. 4 years ago, we were energy independent. Think of it. And today we're taking tar from Venezuela. You know, they don't really have oil, they have tar. You have to heat the hell out of it. It costs you more to heat it than it does to sell it. But we are going to Venezuela. Think of it. Venezuela was like the enemy. We are now giving, you know, I got a kick a month ago, you saw it. They foreclosed on his plane, but they give him billions of dollars. I said, that's okay. He's going to buy a much better plane with the money we give him, right? But we go to Venezuela for oil. We were energy independent. We have more liquid gold, that's oil and gas, under our feet than Saudi Arabia, than Russia. And we were going to be not only energy independent, within 6 months, we were going to be energy dominant. We started off at number 4. And when I left, 4 years later, we were number 1. We were much better and bigger than Russia or Saudi Arabia. Think of that. But we were going to be triple the size of both. And we were going to supply it to Europe. We were going to supply it to Asia. All over the world we were going to supply. We would have made a fortune. But then we had a little mishap with the election where I got more votes than any sitting president in the history of our country. You do know that. More than any sitting president. The only one that supposedly got more votes, and I wouldn't believe it, was Sleepy Joe Biden, who campaigned brilliantly from his basement. People had no interest in this guy, but he got more votes than anybody in the history of the United States of America. So anyway, so bad things happened, but we had something going that nobody had. I mean, we had an unbelievably successful administration, but I also put in some people that, in retrospect, I wouldn't have used. But I had to rely on other people for recommendations. Now, I know everybody. I know the dumb ones, the smart ones, the weak ones, the strong ones. I know I think I know everybody, and you know, I've got people that I think will be great. With that being said, you pick people, and sometimes they disappoint you. Everybody knows that. And then you pick people, and sometimes they turn out to be better than you thought. But for the most part, I tell you what, I think we have some incredible people in Washington. We really do. We have some great people, and I now know, I believe, for the most part, I know who those people are.
Do you think Bobby Kennedy and Elon Musk will be influential figures, without being specific about what those roles will be, in your administration?
Yeah, I do. I think so. Look, Bobby, let's talk two of them. Elon's so great. You know where he is right now? He's in Pennsylvania campaigning for me. Elon. That rocket ship, right? No, it's so great. He docked that big monster, 22 stories. I thought the sucker was going to be done. You know, it's a very crazy story. I mean, I saw it coming in on television. I was talking to I told the story tonight, but I thought it was a very, you know, I'm talking to this very important guy, not as important as Tucker, but important. A big shot. Somebody everybody would know. Talking to him, I'm bored, stiff. He's a boring guy.
Oh, who is he?
So anyway, no, I'm talking to this very big shot, important guy, and I have the television muted. This thing's going on, you know. The whole thing was really boring. Then I see this monster thing coming down. I see fire all over, fire left, right, and I'm looking. I'm saying, "Hey, could you hold it a minute?" Yeah, sure. I said, yeah, I just want to see something. I put the phone down. I sort of forgot, and I didn't pick him up for like 50 minutes, and 5-0. And you know what? Because of the fact that I was president, and I very well might be president again, he held on the whole time. Can you believe it? But it's true. I pick the phone up. I say, oh, shit, the phone. Hello? Hello? He goes, hello? The poor guy. But I had to see this. And I turn it on. I see the. Now you have to understand, it left. I saw it leave, and it was beautiful white paint. Now it's coming down, and it's just dark brown. It's coming down at 10,000 miles an hour or something. I think it's 10,000. It's coming down at levels of speed that nobody ever even conceived of. And it's all burned, and where it's rough. But it's coming, and now it's turned around. It turns around. And you have the gantry, the big, beautiful gantry. And it's coming, and it's going to, I said, oh, it's going to crash, because you see at that bottom, this section right here, that sucker's, oh, I'm going, come on, baby. Come on. And I didn't know, actually, if I'm watching a science fiction movie or am I watching the news. I didn't know what the hell I'm watching. But I see this thing coming down, and all of a sudden it's going into the steel, the big steel gantry up here. It goes, the thing's like 20 stories tall, too. It's going to crash. I said, oh, shit, it's going to crash. Coming down. And the lower section, right, it's coming right, it's ready. And then all of a sudden, whoa, fire, flames come pouring out of the lower section. It's jets. And they're pushing it over right here. And then it comes down. And I'm saying, I mean, is that the coolest thing you've ever seen, right? Is that the coolest? If you don't think I want a guy like that working for us, so, you know, we've got to cherish our brilliant people. They don't treat him right. We've got to cherish our brilliant people, because we don't have too many of them. Nobody does. Nobody does. So, Elon, I'll talk Elon first. Elon wants to, by the way, I'm having a great time up here. Are you having a good time? This guy. Is he the greatest interviewer? He asked me one little question. I talked for 20 minutes, and they're going to say he's better than Larry King at his prime, right?
It's an easy job.
Is that the greatest?
you're an easy interview.
He is great at what he does. There's few like him, I will tell you that. So with Elon, here's a theory, and he's right, that there's unbelievable waste and fraud. Like, I saved much more than $1 billion when I came into the White House in one day, when I said I'm not going to pay that much to Boeing. for Air Force One. And they ended up taking like much more than $1 billion off the price. It took about a couple of weeks, saying I'm not buying it. No, I don't want it. But there's a plane that you're saving much more than $1 billion. And you've got thousands of things like that. Not as much, and in some cases much more. They're building an aircraft carrier, the Gerald Ford. The thing came in like at $20 billion for a boat, $20 billion. And it doesn't work because they decided to use electric catapults that throws the planes off instead of steam. They decided to go electric. Why are they people that going all electric? By the way, I'd end the electric mandate on cars day one. You should have electric, but you got to have gasoline. You got to have everything. That'll come off on day one. Many things will be done on day one. Your head will spin when you see what's going to happen, the stupidity. But what I like about Elon, Elon's a great cost cutter. And Elon thinks he can cut the costs of our government by $2 trillion. Think of it. That's the entire deficit, because it's now at a level. By the way, we have the biggest deficit we've ever had under this stupid group of people. But he thinks he can cut $2 trillion without affecting anybody, just through, and I think he can do that. I do. I believe that. And that's really what he wants to do. He doesn't want to work. He doesn't want to become a secretary of something. I'd love to have him, to be honest with you. But he doesn't want to. He's doing a couple of other things, like rocket ships. He sends, Tucker, he sends 92% of the rockets that go up are his rockets. Think of that. Russia, China, and us, 92% are him. And he's the only one. I asked him, I said, are you the only one that can do that? He's the only one that can land it like that. And he said it'll be years before they can do it. He's a great guy. He wants to cut costs. That's what he wants to do. He wants to save the country. He said that if Trump doesn't get elected, the country is finished. Because, he understands me. And I understand. I got to know him a little bit in the White House, but much more so over the last few months. He endorsed me. He gave me an endorsement that was so beautiful. He said, if Trump doesn't win, I think this country is finished. He's worried about the country. He's worried about it. He thinks he can save $2 trillion, in which case we don't have a deficit. The whole thing would be $2 trillion a year, by the way, a year. And I will definitely, now, Bobby is great. The only thing I'm a little bit worried about with Bobby, so I want him to work on health, and I think there's nobody like him. I think he's right with so much of the things he's talking about, because, we're not a healthy country. If you look at some of the countries in Europe, they're much more healthy than us. We're a rich country. We got to get rid of a little debt, but that's okay. I've typically been very good at that. I've been very proficient at that. I've had it both ways. I've had a lot of debt, and I've had very little debt. And as you get older, having very little debt is much better, believe me. But you know what? He really wants to, with the pesticides and all the different things. I said he can do it. He can do anything he wants. He wants to look at the vaccines. He wants everything. I think it's great. I think it's great. The only thing I say to Bobby is, leave the liquid gold under our feet alone. We want to have a little gasoline. Because you know what I'm going to do? We're going to unleash much of that. And we're going to, Germany tried to go all green and they almost destroyed their country. And that was the end of Angela, by the way. That was it for Angela. They went all green. They had windmills all over the place. And the wind stopped blowing for a couple of weeks. And that was almost the end of Germany, actually. But the only thing, and I say it jokingly, but I say, Bobby, I love you looking at health. I want you to take care of the women of this country, the men of this country, and the children of this country. You don't have to worry about anybody else. But the one thing you got to do for me, Bobby, is leave what's under my feet, the oil and gas. You leave that to me, Bobby, because we're going to make so much damn money, and it's clean. It's going to make it clean. We're going to make, look, China doesn't have that. That's why China's going electric. If we go electric, we're playing right into their hands. We have oil and gas. They don't. They have things for making the batteries and other things. They're going to make the electric cars. We're not going to be making the electric cars. The problem with the electric cars, and I think they're great in a smaller application, they don't go far, they cost too much, and they're going to be made in China. 3 minor problems, okay? But if you listen to this government, they want to make army tanks electric because they want to invade countries with their army tanks in a very friendly way from the pollution standpoint. The whole thing. You know what you have to do? The batteries are so big, they have a design where the army tank is going in and they have like a wagon, like a child's wagon with these massive batteries.
Wait, we're going to have these green wars?
These people are crazy. No, they want trucks to be all electric. The problem is they don't go far. That's a problem. You know what else is a problem? So the trucking industry comes to see me because they think I'm going to win. And they come in to see me. And these guys come in, and they're great guys. They've been in like Roger Penske. How good is Roger Penske? The guy's won, but he's in the trucking business too. He's won like 19 Indianapolis 5. Think of how good this guy is. Japan spends billions on coming up with a race car. Germany spends billions. I don't know if they've ever won, maybe 1 or 2. Roger Penske is an incredible guy. He won 19 Indianapolis 500s. It might even be 20. That was 2 years ago. I gave him the Presidential Medal of Freedom because I said he deserves it. After the 19th, I said he deserves it. But the truckers came in to see me. They say, sir, they want us to go all electric and it'll destroy the industry. Why? Because a truck is 2.5 times heavier if it's run by a battery. I said, that's not good. I don't like that. What does that do to the bridge? He said, how did you pick it up so fast, sir? Every bridge in the United States would have to be rebuilt. Every roadway would have, because they're not set for that kind of weight. Little problem. They don't go far, right? They only go. I said, how many times would you, New York to LA, how many times would you have to stop? 6 times, sir, 6. How many times would you have to stop if you loaded up with diesel fuel? We wouldn't have to stop at all, and we can come back a little bit of a ways, too. I said, that's a problem. They have a lot of problems, right? Another problem is the battery is much bigger than the tanks of diesel, so it would take a lot of their payload out. You know? I said, have you explained this to the government? Yes. What do they say? We don't care. We want all electric. You know, I mean, these are problems that fairly short-term are absolutely insurmountable, but the government is pushing them anyway. So we have to bring common sense back to our country. We have to have borders. We have to have fair elections. You know, we shouldn't be worried about how they're stealing in Pennsylvania and how we should have fair elections. We should have one-day elections, all paper ballots, voter ID, and we're finished.
So I know you've been